Slice of SciFi.
I'm Noah Richmond,
I'm Lewis Howley.
reviewing The Wild Robot, animated film coming out of the studio that I guess is still called Dreamworks, and a director that's actually pretty veteran at this point. This has done some major titles like I think got started with Lilo and Stitch and has done How to Train Your Dragon, done Call of the Wild. I think I'm forgetting some other things. Um, but anyway, certainly something that is very much in the vein of films to aim for the whole family. The kind of animated films that have that feel good quality and that appeal to kids, but also have, the in sort of insights and humor to keep the adults entertained as well. Have you? I have never heard of the books that this is based on. Apparently, there's a Wild Robot series. Is this something you're familiar with, Lewis?
No, I am not. I was surprised that it was based on a novel when the credits ran. And I think that gives a good opportunity for parents who take their children to introduce their kids to this series.
So, what would you say that you enjoyed about the film?
Well, it was interesting because as we were sitting in the theater, there was a promo title card that showed the robot with the fox on one side and a gosling in his hand in the other. And I commented that, in real life, that gosling would be a McNugget to the fox. And I was surprised that the movie really did not cut back on nature, red in tooth and claw. And at times it was presented humorously. And at other times it seemed like a potential consequence. And that includes the origin story of the Gosling, um, Bright Bill, and his um, what his fate might have been had circumstances not come into play. But I can't really discuss that because it would be a spoiler. And but I was impressed that the filmmakers were willing to take the chance to make it more realistic and not just sugarcoat it like a kind of uh, surreal kind of experience for kids.
Yeah, I certainly enjoyed the celebration of nature, the natural world, and the juxtaposition of this product, this robot who's been created, and how it's completely built for marketing and advertising and trying to fit that in with this world of just animals and trees and water, and just the juxtaposition quality, and how the film itself becomes this kind of celebration of nature and has a certain wink nod aspect of just the humor, as it were, of almost kind of highlighting the absurdity of modern existence in a way. And it also, I thought, was very it was very cute, but also very touching. And I thought that it really did have some very good timing with its jokes. Jokes and the physical humor displayed on screen. There really were some very good laughs.
I also noted that the relative absence of human beings in this movie. We see a few of them, but I'm not sure any of them have a speaking role. We see them going about their business in this futuristic city, But for the most part, it's either robots like our wild robot and animals interacting. And, I think the one exception is when we look at the advertising that occasionally appears for the robots in different circumstances. And then we can see that their robots are intended for a human family and things like that. So I found that an interesting aspect of this movie, that we avoided most human contact, and even uh, their influence on the island was mediated by more of their robots when they come eventually.
So now that we've said what did we enjoy, where did you think that there were maybe some shortfalls where the film could have done better?
I think part of it suffered from how do we end this film in a way that's satisfactory. We had several possible endings before the eventual ending. And I'm usually not a fan of that because I think you should make your point and go to your ending. And here, there were multiple opportunities where the film could have ended and still been as good as it was. But instead, it just seemed to linger on. Uh, and and there were times when I thought that the animation was fairly spectacular. I But in the forest fire sequence, I thought that it did not look photorealistic to me. It did not live up to the other animation.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, for myself, I found it is I get that it's a children's film. I you can only complain just so much, but I did find it to be overly goofy. I thought that a lot of the humor was not. I mean, certainly the humor, but also just in general, there there were there was a lot that it could have done to aim it at a range of audiences rather than just purely to the children. So it was more of a dumb, goofy children's film than I ideally would have liked, um, despite having all these other qualities that I thought worked quite well. But my biggest complaint is as the film went, and especially towards the end. I mean, I think that you kind of hit on it, how there was a feeling like it really could have come to a conclusion well before it did. But the other thing is, I think it really started to layer on the sentiment over and over. And it did become really overly sentimental to the point where I was feeling like it was becoming smothering. And so there, the importance of good storytelling and good filmmaking, there is really an art to showing and not telling. And I did feel like it wrapped itself up way too much in telling by the end of the film, dictating how I should be reacting to it and how I should be feeling, rather than giving me the freedom to come to my own feelings about it, my own interpretations.
Well, I thought, as far as families go, that it is suitable for families with pretty young children. Um, I didn't think there were too many extended boring periods where the kids would want to do something else. I did hear some conversations going on with kids while we sat there, but not too many. And well, it is sometimes like nature red in tooth and claw. I just don't think the level of intensity or frighteningness is high enough to discourage families from bringing kids to it. And there's a lot to talk about in terms of choices, um, uh, what values one should uphold in life. And so there's plenty of thematic elements for parents to discuss with children.
So, what would be your overall summary, and how many stars out of on a rating of 1 to 5 would you give this?
I thought it was a successful movie for the most part. I thought it was well animated. I thought the choice of acting voices was good. The characters in the film were enchanting enough that they could be memorable. Um, and even with its various problems, I still think I would give it 4 out of 5 stars.
Great. Yeah, for myself, I'd like to rate it higher because there was so much that I did genuinely appreciate and enjoy with just some of the interactions, the on-screen humor, and just the feeling of uplifting. I think it's just nice to see something that brings you up, and um, gives you a little bit of a warm feeling. Unfortunately for me, the things that were shortfalls really were just too big for my own enjoyment of a film like this. It's too aimed at children. The humor is just too over the top. The action, a lot of the action scenes are just too cartoony and over the top. Um, I felt like it was very reminiscent of what we saw Pixar do with Wall-E, but Wall-E did it right because Wall-E just showed it to you, whereas this film spent way too much time dictating how I'm supposed to be feeling rather than just showing me. And so when all is said and done, I'm afraid for me, it just didn't quite work. I'm going to have to give it a 2.5 star. And I think that would be our feelings, our thoughts on The Wild Robot.
And we'll see you next time.